DB, what's up, brother? Oh, that's up. What's up, Laura? What's up, everybody? Conka.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Carl. Papa Joseph in the house. Welcome to the mastermind, baby. Laura. Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm just going to jump in on this, D. So your question is, from a Ritz-Carlton customer service experience, what would be close to you to potentially host a retreat?
No. I'm saying to bring my team to go experience that type of service.
Okay, not so much. Got it.
Yeah, because I think we've all trainers. Like you can go and you were talking about it on the podcast about the certifications, right? You can go get a CSCS and get the knowledge from the textbook, but you're not going to be a good trainer until you go out and train people and get the experience. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. That's what I was saying on the pod is so many people hide behind certifications and think because they have a laundry list of A, B's, and C's that they're going to be successful, versus there's a lot of people don't have the laundry list of certifications that are doing great things. What's the closest big city?
Houston's 20 minutes away.
You ever been to the Houstonian Club?
Yeah, I have. It's amazing.
I mean, that's a different beast, right? Like that's a different beast. But when it comes to certainly like how do you want to see the creme de la creme, different level, different model. But I think the Houstonian Club, number one, attracts the kind of clientele and avatar that is certainly good. So I think that could be one.
That's great.
Let me think of anyone else in Houston. Well, Brent Gallagher. Brent Gallagher, former mastermind member, has Larry, what's the name of it? The one Avenue One Fitness, I think it is. Yeah. Very small business, but I think he does a good job in delivering a Ritz-Carlton experience. Now, Brent was a P10 member for a long time. And I haven't talked to Brent in a while, but I think his business is, I think it's Avenue Fitness or Avenue One Fitness. Definitely worth that. And I'm more than happy to make the connection or reach out to him and use my name. I think they're doing a great job in what's the real up? Well, there's a lot of upscale areas in Houston, but
the River Oaks.
No, it's forget West. Is it West End? I forget the name of it, but we were there. We had one of our retreats, one of our P10 meetings there.
Okay.
So I'll think of it later on, I'm sure, when I'm not really thinking too much. But that's a really good. You had two leads there. Houstonian Club, big behemoth. And by the way, this is a good thing for everybody. Is how do you take your team, one person, yourself, or 10 people to an area of business, maybe a studio club, could be a boxing club, it could be a spa that you go visit and say, hey, I like this, this, and this, and this. I need to figure out a way to implement that into the business. So that's good. And Derek, I'm going to come back to it. Hey guys, welcome to the call today. This is just a chop it up call. Grab a protein shake, whatever you want, and chill out. Couple announcements, and then we're going to go right into Q&A and connect on this. Huge shout out to two people in the mastermind today. Sarah Apgar, congratulations on the event down in Texas. I was singing All My Exes Live in Texas last week. Mel's like, what are you doing? Yeah, but it was great to be down in San Antonio. And Sarah and team did an amazing job with her first Fit Fighter Festival. So as many of you know, if you've ever hosted an event, it's a lot of work. So Sarah did awesome. And also Jared Cogswell, TD4. We had Decca Denver going on, and I know we had Mitchell down there. Joe Ardagna was down there. There was a great representation of mastermind members amongst the hundreds of people. So shout out to them as well. Mastermind Institute members, this is retreat. We're coming into the retreat month. We got TD 1, 2, 3, and 4 all having platinum level retreats. Yeah, look, you guys are all dancing. We mentioned last month, we have May 12th, 13th right here at the Q, a Mastermind Institute event. So if you would like to come to that, we want to get 15 or so Institute members to that. We put out the word. I think right now we have 6 or 8 Institute members. So if you're in the Institute, make sure you show up, because as Derek just said, you're going to have 2 days of immersion in a world-class culture. We will work out. We will go all day on the 13th of business, all day on the 13th. And then on the 14th, if you'd like to stay for Jeff Wade's workshop here at FQ10, we've got the workshop on the 14th, and he's offering a discount for you on that. And if you really want to stick around longer than the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th, that night on the 14th, there's a football game at the arena. Our very own Strike Force is taking on the Las Vegas team. So if you want some entertainment, it's entertaining. I felt like it was the WWE meets football meets, like, it was crazy. You'll see. So anyway, that's on the 14th. So you got a lot of opportunities there on that. If you're a platinum member, make sure you head out to one of the platinum level retreats on that. And thank you for next week. Well, 2 weeks from now, we've got our huddle on April 12th at 10 a.m. PST, 1 o'clock EST. Please mark your calendars now on that. We already have, I think Jeff Wade and Kelly Young are our guest speakers, along with yours truly on that. And if you have not yet posted on the mastermind, we're looking for a March mastermind post of the month as well. Hey, tip, if you ever do a mastermind post, invite me as a collaborator. This is a new thing that Instagram is doing. When you invite collaborators, it's really easy to share that on whoever. Like if you invited me to be a collaborator, I would accept, and it automatically posts that onto my feed. So that's a possibility. And it doesn't have to be me for any of your posts. If you're shouting someone out, I did that with Mike Chandler down in Nashville. He asked me to do that. He posted it, invited me as a collaborator. I did that. And it was very simple. So a little social media tip, if you do a mastermind post for the month of March as well. And the last thing before we dive into these questions, we are now going into the last week of March. Kind of crazy to think about that, is Q1 is almost done. Now's a great time to actually get your God-Sized Dreams Planner opened up. Reflect on the last 90 days, good, bad, and different. I think what's important is you reflect. What's your big 5 like? Do you need to take something off the big 5 because things change, or do you need to really go deeper and more focused on that? I was speaking with someone yesterday about being busy and just being busy checking off things on your to-do list versus really honing your attention into needle movers. What are the needle movers right now in your business and in your life, in your relationships? Focus on the needle movers, get them done, focus on them, whatever has to get done. Does anyone else have fires every day that you have to put out? Or am I the only one? Anyone else have fires to put out every day? Yeah, Michelle, you're laughing. You're like, double, lift it up. Yep, yeah, all of us. Last night, literally, I told Melanie at 9 o'clock, tune me out, 9 to 11 o'clock. I had to not only put out some fires during the day that distracted me from my needle movers. I'm like, I got to focus on some really important stuff on that. So block out the time, make it happen, whatever it takes. Get it done. But last week of the quarter, let's make sure you do your 90-day wonder. As always, it's in your GSD planner, and review your big 5. The big 5 is not something we do in December and January. It collects dust, and at the end of the year, hey, let's review the year. Right now is the time to say, are we on course or are we not on course? Where do we have to course correct? And I'm feeling angst, anxiety. I'm not really where I'm at I want to be. Okay, then let's set the plan right now, going into April 1st, next week. What we have to do on that. So we'll touch on the April 12th. I just don't want to lose that opportunity today as we connect live to just remind you, maybe this weekend, carve out an hour or so on Saturday or Sunday, look back, look at your 90-day wonder, and then do another one as well. So couple things here in the chat box. If you like, you can put any questions you have, comments, opportunities, or you want to pick my brain or the mastermind member teammates' brains as well. We have a lot of smart people on here as well. Well, I see most of you are smart. There's a couple people that I question. Two Guns, why are you looking at me like that? I see you. But in the chat box, feel free to do that. I want to start off today with Conca. Stephen, I know you're on for about 20 minutes or so on that, and then we have our chop it up session. So Steve, I'm going to unmute you or unmute yourself. Tell me what's happening, how we can help. And I did look at your plan as well. So as he's talking, I'm looking at a plan. So go ahead, Conca.
Awesome. No, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time. Yeah, so we're in the midst of a build out construction right now. We've got basically almost a vanilla box to work with. So we're setting the they're setting the layout as far as
March Madness, it's layup time. I know.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I just I sent Todd just an outline of the layout just to see what his thoughts are on, how to set up the gym, traffic flow. The thing is, we've got, the bathrooms and changing areas are kind of in the back of the gym. So it's, we got to kind of help maneuver people, through the front without tramping through the gym, the main area, but also not taking up a lot of space for a little walking path and just get some ideas on how to set up almost little micro gyms in the big gym, so to speak. The bulk of our business is our 18 to 20, mid-sized groups. And then we've got some semi-private, small groups. And we've got our athlete population that's, sort of up and coming, but we're squeezed right now with really only doing a couple of those things in one space, about 3,000, square foot training platform. So we're going to go to about 5,800. So just want to get some thoughts and layouts as far as we want to have a little recovery area. We know that's been huge for a lot of you guys. So we've been in talks with Hyper Ice, and those guys are helping us out, just kind of budgeting, some different things and how we're going to use that, how we're going to utilize that as a little offset profit center, and just be more productive on the, on the other services that we are currently doing. Just, be able to do a little bit more of those without being crunched for space.
Yep. So Steve, what's out of this area, the biggest thorn in your side? Is it getting people from the entrance to the changing area / locker rooms? Is that like how am I going to figure out this logistical thing? I know we got 5,800 square feet. I like the turf and the little track area where people could do their warm-ups and some acceleration work. But is one of the biggest problems you're trying to solve how do I get them from the entrance into the back area?
Yeah, I would say that's one. And then the other one would be, if anybody here has got a similar type of business model where you're running, some simultaneous bigger groups, but then also some smaller groups kind of going at the same time in one big open space, what would, if you had to do it differently, or you had a chance to do it over again, or if you like what you're doing right now, how does that flow as far as, how everybody can operate, and what you need from an equipment perspective, like, oh, I wish we had, another one of these or another set of dumbbells or kettlebells. So that's kind of, we're bringing obviously everything over. We had a wish list of some new stuff equipment wise that we were going to bring over, but, now we're, getting, we're not doing a lot of build out by any stretch, but, the build out costs are just astronomical right now. It's almost $100 for a piece of plywood, which is kind of ridiculous. So we're going to limit our build out, to maybe 2 offices. We're going to have a physical therapist rent space from us. We're going to build her a little office. We'll have a little assessment check-in where there's a mind body, we can do consults, that type of thing. But yeah, what you see right here is, obviously the entrance is up front, and the biggest area obviously is going to be, some turf. It all comes in 12-foot widths.
Wait, Steve, when you say up front, where is up front?
Okay, so up front's going to be right where that pink square is and the blue square. There's 2 little offices that are going to be put in there, and then there's going to be a little display area for some swag and gear and stuff like that.
So we're talking up top here.
Right up top. So you come in there. So that yellow to your left is where I'm kind of trying to figure out some sort of walking area to get back to the bathrooms here, where there may be 2 little changing areas. A lot of folks don't need that. They just need to drop their shoes, keys, phone. So I'm thinking maybe, benches, some little cubbies, kind of what we have in our gym right now along this first part of the yellow wall. but going right for where that blue square is, right where your cursor is, all the way back, that's just a lot of usable wall space that we could use. But if there's a walkway area, that's going to just take up some additional. So I have some of equipment about 4 to 6 feet off the wall where they can almost walk behind it.
So
we don't have a lot of people that come in.
3-lane turf area?
Yeah, so that's a 3-lane turf. I'm working with Perform Better and those guys, and it comes off the machine is 12 foot, then you can get it in, like 2 different colors. So it'll be like a black and blue turf area.
What is right down here in the lower right?
That's where all the electrical work, that's a bump out where a lot of the electrical work is.
Is that why you're not putting this against the wall?
The turf?
Yep.
Yeah, because that sticks out. There's that little opening there. There's kind of like a utility closet.
Yep.
We can use for storage, and right behind that is that's where all the mechanical stuff is.
How much space is this? How many? Because it's just how many space is this electric? Like how much? If it was against the wall, how much are you actually losing space wise? Is it 6 feet, 8 feet?
That's going to be probably about 8 feet. Everything is pretty much to scale. I know it's hard to see there, but I think I've got those 2 things, those blue things against the wall. Those are 2 rowers. So those rowers lay about 8 feet in length. So that's going to be about 8 feet. We'll have about a 2 foot width of walking space between those rowers and those 2. There's 2 bikes right there as well.
Mm-hmm. And this track area is a different surface or same surface, different color?
Yeah, so we're looking at the turf runs about $7 a square foot if you get colored turf. Rubber flooring, depending on color, is anywhere between those of you who have rubber flooring, if you have the speckled rubber flooring with the blacks. Yeah, the black, that's about $1.70 a square foot, depending on how much you get. If you got the lighter color right now, it's about $8 a square foot because of the dye is so expensive right now. It's just insane. So,
okay. So how many yards is this turf area?
So that's 65 feet right now. So that's like a 35-yard turf. Dang. Right now.
So here's why I say this. I'm going there because like right in the epicenter of it all is the turf field. And I'm just trying to think, if you got athletes, and let me just, I'll play devil's advocate because I don't know what the right answer is. We can talk through it. But just because it's a good to objectively do it. I'm always a little worried about kids, athletes, moms, dads running in the middle of the area, and then someone gets wiped out because it's literally in the middle of the area. It's one of my concerns when I was doing that Q10 down low is the turf is right at the front door, and people to this day run out the door. And we've had almost near bad accidents when high athletes are like trucking out the door and grandma's walking by. And she takes out the guy's knees. But is there any thought of shortening the turf to the electrical box and putting it against this wall and opening up this area to open space where there's not the sled pushes or the speed work in the middle?
Yeah, I did think about that. Where you see those dotted lines right there, those are posts that are holding up
so support beams.
They're support beams. So yeah, so that can definitely be the only other thing is if I would possibly make it a little bit shorter. That I could put it right to the back door, which basically opens up to nothing.
Okay.
And then
if there's support beams, that throws it for a loop, but there's always these logistical things. But okay.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you couldn't flip the entrance to where it's near the electrical box and put the turf back where you have the designated walk in the top left?
Yeah, it's just not the way so all the parking and everything else, there's a bunch of buildings next to me and behind me. So behind that door is there's a dumpster there. It's gravel. There's no access to it. You can't get.
Mm-hmm.
What's just to the top of the electrical box on the right? Is this like a walkway, this whole thing, or what is that? Yeah, right there.
So that's an entrance to a little closet.
Okay.
there's no door there. It's just an opening right now that they use for storage. And the way that it is all configured into the electrical space, we can't really, it's all intertwined. It'd be a pain in the ass to really take that closet down. And we need a little bit of storage space to just store stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in no man's land.
So it sounds like the entrance is set. This track you've thought about 1,001 times that it's kind of stuck there because of these beams, right? What's all going on over here in this cool area, this cutout? Is this the recovery area?
No, well, right now this is where, so we've got like a road rack where we do, you know, all sorts of stuff, TRX stuff. We hang bags, we got ropes. This is where we'll do a lot of, you know, those blue things right there are just a couple dumbbell racks, kettlebell racks.
Right.
So that's, my thought was that would kind of go on over here. You know, if we had the athletes going on here, we can have the adults going on, you know, in this area right here. And so that way they're sort of segregated a little bit, and we can control, you know, we can control traffic flow. Because right now we have 2 turf areas right in the middle going down both lanes of our gym. So I exactly understand what you're saying as far as people crossing. We've been dealt with that for years. And, you know, my thought was, man, if I could avoid one thing, is to avoid that crisscross of people walking to get a kettlebell or something. So that's where I thought I could put something on the other side where those beams are, where you can have a small group, kind of self-contained. There's a bike, some rowers, some weights, some kettlebells. There's a half rack. And to try to eliminate, there's no reason for anybody to cross over, you know, but again, you can never really truly prevent that. My thought was the recovery area would be somewhere in the front.
Up here?
Yeah, like up, yeah, like right where that, on the other side of that blue square where that open white area is. So yeah, that was my original thought, is people were kind of leaving little recovery area. You're not embedded in all the craziness that could be going on.
Isn't this the front door?
The front doors, no, is that little, it's straight ahead, right above, right there. Yep, that's the front door.
But aren't people then going to be walking into the recovery area?
Well, yeah, that's my other issue is if that has to be brought out a little bit more towards where that pink and
yeah. What's this down here?
So right there, that is their storage area. So I don't own that right now. But you know, we talked about me possibly getting that. That's about an extra $500 a month if I want to take that over.
And that's how many are those? How many square feet is that?
That's about 300 square feet right there. So it's not, you know, I've been definitely contemplating that as far as, you know, you could utilize, you know,
so your recovery area, explain it. Is it truly like a Zen den kind of a place, or you know, you're going to have 2, like we have the 2 little lounge chairs, we got the Normatec boots, we got the guns, and people are kind of right in the middle of the lobby, and it just kind of, it's become kind of like that vibe. It's not a, you know, chilled out, really quiet kind of a place, which I would say you'd have to do something like that here. Right.
Yeah. Right now that would be it. My only other thought would be, you know, if we took over, you know, that space back there, we could knock those walls down. The walls don't go to the ceiling. So it's just a matter of demo work or keep it. But it's like, how do we manage it? You know, as far as if it's up front, we can kind of see it. If folks are renting some of the booths and the lounges, we can kind of control it.
So I guess the question is, where does recovery fit into your membership model? Do you want to create a separate membership model or not? That's where that would happen back there. You can introduce them to recovery here, and everyone gets a complimentary Normatec boot. You know, they get the gun. But if you want the quote membership for the recovery, hey, we've got 2 Zen Den rooms, or the Zen Den, which 300 square feet is pretty perfect. It's darker, the lighting is different. You got a Juve wall or an infrared sauna or something back in this area that truly is relegated for recovery. That's an interesting play. But if you just want to kind of make it part of your overall offerings, I think this works, because that's what we're doing now. If you want to get serious about recovery and have some ancillary revenue stream coming in for $500 a month, you'd be able to recoup your costs, I would think, if you penciled it out, if you had that. It just depends on your vision of where does recovery fit into Conquest Sport and Fitness.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we definitely want to pay more attention to, and we have, just given our clientele is, mostly mid to late 40s, 50s that need it more than ever. Mobility, just more yin time is. So we definitely are going to implementing that in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I like that idea of a separate. I mean, the walls are there. It's just a matter of how we want to set it up. One thing Frank was helping me out was we're going to do a sort of a capital fundraising campaign through our membership, through basically like a GoFundMe page, just because of the costs are just so outrageous with minimal construction. And one of the things that Frank suggested we do in return is have sort of a grand opening type of VIP party for those who donate at a certain level or something. And my other thought was, if people donate at a certain level, they have access to the recovery zone, whether it's up front first or whether once we get it up and running, it's at a discounted rate, kind of for the first year or whatever it is. I just got to start pricing out. I definitely wanted to have some sort of an infrared or red light sauna. I know those are probably a couple grand a piece, one or two. One would be sufficient to start, I think. And then, the lounge chairs, I got a quote on those. Those are almost $2 grand with embroidery, $400 to ship them now, which is kind of crazy.
Crazy. Shipping's crazy on all this stuff. I know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely in the model. It's just how do we, implement it without going too big, too fast.
So let's just go through it, because I know you got to get going here in a second. So they coming in. I like right now, initially, they're being kind of the cheers lobby. People are, you got a lounge chair or two. Ideally, you got some Normatec boots. You got some retail going on over here. Some supplements, bars, waters, whatever it is. And people are going to congregate after here. I like this because we don't have a choice. Because your initial question was, how do I integrate classes, small group with sessions, this is where you're warming people up. If you do the energy lineups, you got your A line, you got your B line, they're facing each other. Heck, if that's 30 yards long, you got a lot of space there. Or 30 yards, that's a good space. That's a lot. You got your people here, and then during a class, you would have people back and forth between the A area and the strength area over here. I'll call it the functional fitness and strength area on that. And they're back and forth between these two areas. If you've got a young athletes group, then, that's where you got to almost communicate with your staff of, hey, you'll almost want to compartmentalize, into zones, zone one. If zone one is all this area here, zone 2 is right here, zone 3 is strength, and you get 20 minutes in each zone. Then you have, Steve, you're in zone 3 first, I'm in zone 1, you're in zone 2, and we create in that zone and you rotate. So if you have 3 one-on-one sessions going on the same time in class, that's a good revenue generator in that area. So I'm thinking out loud as far as how I would separate this big 1,500 square foot beautiful space into zones.
Okay.
Australia does this, by the way, great. Larry, what was the name of that place we went to in Australia? Fitness First, Function Fitness.
Yeah,
It's all zoned. This is way before COVID. And it was like literally color-coded flooring. And they had living plant walls. And it was like a different feel. You crossed into an area and it was a different zone. You had your TRX zone, and it was a different zone. Not that you're going to do that with the flooring, but you can think conceptually how that is. Steve, I would do this. Can I see your investment plateaus or tiers? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. If I believe in Steve, I train with you, I want a tier 1 or tier 3. What does that look like? If I'm a tier 3 guy and I'm like, I got New York money, I'm a Wall Street guy, I believe in Steve. I want to support the mission. I'm willing to put down $5,000 because it's a write-off or whatever. What do I get for that in the recovery area or whatnot? Or, there's maybe a 2 or 3 different tiers those investors would want to do, because some don't want anything in return. They just want to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Got it.
Does that help?
Yeah, super helpful. No,
anyone else, guys? I like looking objectively. Any other comments in the chat box? Or not? I'm gonna take this down. When is the potential opening of this?
It's like September 1.
Okay, so that's coming quick, right? That's gonna come here quick. September 1. So the lease is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yep, we're all set with that. So
and this is negotiable right now.
Yes, yeah, that is negotiable. I actually started to take down some of the sheetrock on the walls about 2 months ago, and then I'm like, no, I'm going too big, too fast, and I told him to stop. So, but in all hindsight, I think it's going to work out, because we would have had to rebuild a recovery room if we wanted to do it anyway. So the walls are open right now. So I could put some soundproofing insulation on that.
So check this out. This circles back to Derek Blatcher. When we were down at Team Alpha Warrior in San Antonio, this is an interesting space. They build these gyms and go put them into 110 different Army bases worldwide. And it's modular. So imagine this down here was your recovery pod. And literally it's a pod. And you open up the door, and all of your percussive devices, anything that deals with percussion and hype rice for them was in that room. Next to them, they had a hyperbaric chamber, a cryo chamber. Not that you're going to do that. The next chamber or room was red light therapy, and the next chamber they had another one. Forget that. They had red light therapy. They had a cryo chamber. They had a big bod pod, kind of a body comp thing. But you don't have to get too fancy with that space if you get it. We'd want to talk to it if you do. I think there's some really neat opportunities on the recovery side, as long as there's a membership model or an add-on that people would pay additional for. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that area.
Cool. Awesome.
That's good. Anyone else want to comment? Anyone else? Frank?
Yeah, Todd, I'll just jump in real quick. I agree. I like the idea, rather than a traditional a la carte for recovery. I think it's a good cross-sell to have that recovery model. It's like if somebody buys their membership, whatever that is, training group, whatever, and you say, hey, for an extra, making up the numbers, $50 a month, you get unlimited access to our recovery program. Once somebody's committed to their health and fitness, and now you cross-sell them with a value add for just an extra $50, I'm going to get unlimited recovery options. Sure, throw that on there. It's analogous to would you like fries with that? Just the simple fact that you ask increases the number of yeses. So it's a different way to position it. But if you're going to utilize that space, and I won't go long in this, guys, every inch of your facility, you've got to be measuring the ROI of that square footage. So there's nothing wrong with a recumbent bike, but a recumbent bike takes up a certain amount of footprint and only does one thing, versus a TRX taking up a fraction of that space can do many things. It can always be moved aside. So don't forget that real estate in your space is still a valuable investment.
Steven, can you connect with Brian Schultze? Do me a favor. Can you video your studio in Williamsburg, VA? That's William Mary. And just put it on the Facebook page, Schultze, and Steven, pay attention to his studio it looks a lot like yours. It reminds me, when I look at this, I printed it out. It looks a lot like Schultze's, and he's doing the exact same thing as you. He's got a back room for classes. He's got a sports performance turf area. Schultze, can you do that?
Yeah, 100%. Not a problem.
Do you see any similarities between what you've got and Steve's working on?
I was thinking the exact same thing when he first started. It's,
Perfect.
we were able to get our turf up against the wall, if you remember.
Yep.
And it pushes those functions and movements and exercises out of the way of the other population that's in there. And so it did help. And there's also ways around, Steve, if you do have electrical panels and mechanical areas, there's different things you can do and ways around making the most of those spaces. Certain codes obviously tell you that you need to do X, Y, and Z for occupancy and things like that. Those codes are in place strictly for when somebody is there to work on the equipment. So there's some options there too. You just have to know how you can get creative.
Awesome. No, appreciate it.
You're talking to a man whose family's in the construction engineering business. So Schultz is he's a good resource for you.
Awesome.
Schultz, drop that in the Facebook page, a quick 5-10 minute video for everyone, because I think what's cool about these kind of calls, like we're in the trenches here, is just everyone will benefit. You may get some ideas, and his place is immaculate. It's clean, like many of yours as well. But I just see a lot of similarities, Stephen, with you and Brian. And he's got classes. He has athletes. 80% of your business model, I know, is coming from mid-sized groups and personal training. So 80%, we've got it. I mean, that's a good revenue chunk there. So we got to make sure it's set up for that. And I think, Brian's got that going down in Virginia. And if any of you guys also have something that you're like, hey, this reminds me of my shop, share it, because I think that's a benefit for all. So, and then come September, October, we can go down, Conquer, to your place and hang out and push some sleds to the middle of the facility.
Hey, I had reached out to Sarah to say if she wants to come back up here for a grand opening. And I talked to Jared about doing the first DECA event in Western Mass, September as well. So maybe we'll get back-to-back weekends or have them both on here on the same weekend. We'll see what happens.
I love it. Good. All right, Steve, I know you're checking out. I want to hop over.
Thank you, guys.
Blackshear had a question on this stuff. By the way, is this helpful? This is good in the weed stuff. So good feedback coming through here. What type of lounge chairs? These are the Hyper Ice recovery lounge chairs on that. So cool. I like that. Derek, let's talk about your question. You shot over to me yesterday. I appreciate that. Talk about your retreat and how I can help.
Yeah, well, I want to real quick, just a couple things. Well, on the idea of the recovery, we were talking about that. Your model is obviously different than a Jeffrey Wade and FST, what Tali is doing. What is your expected ROI on that? Like, what is your guys' goal in that? Is that I actually ordered the Hyper Ice chair and boots, the Normatec boots. So I'm just curious. I don't know if we're doing well with it or not. I'm just curious, like, what is your guys' expectations on that return?
You asking me, Derek?
Yeah, at FQ10.
Well, I think two things. Number one, it right now is a consumer insight test of are people number one, are they going to? We know it's needed. Are people going to use it? And the answer in the several months we've had it is yes, they want it. But this is kind of weird to say. It is a lead gen into the gym. There are people who are coming in, inquiring about what we do, and they look over and someone's in the Normatec boots and lying down in a chair. It's the exact opposite of what they expect when they walk into a gym, because they think people that they're intimidated, they're scared, they're nervous, and someone's chilling out over there with earphones on and like they're drinking a protein shake, and they're like, that looked pretty cool. And it opens up the conversation, number one, about the gym. So it's been an interesting find in the last few months that has become a lead gen for Fitness Quest and into classes and training when that wasn't necessarily the intention behind it. And then now that we have all of our members, they receive a complimentary session of the Normatec boots and they can use the gun and those things. They're asking for more of that service. So I can't tell you the ROI on it yet directly, because the only way to measure direct revenue would be once we have the membership and we start to promote the membership. Hey, we have 29 people signed up, or we had 59 people signed up, and that's generating $6,000 a month. What it has done also, and this goes back to the Ritz-Carlton thing, how do you make your lobby where everyone hangs out after a class? People are hanging out in the lobby and they're grabbing a protein shake that's in the refrigerator, prepackaged, and they want to get in the Normatec boots, but there's someone in there, so they're waiting around 15 minutes and talking and connecting. And what do people want nowadays? They want to hang out, connect, and chit chat. So there's been this bottleneck, which is good. at the lobby area, and it's been kind of a good energy vortex in a good way of people hanging out and congregating there. So I don't think there's a direct ROI, but there is an ROI that an energetic ROI that I really like. And when people come in, there's like, oh, this is the place to be. So I can report back on the direct revenue from it, but right now I've liked what I've seen from the very little that we actually have, with 2 lounge chairs, some Normatec boots, some of the guns, and that's pretty much it right now.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
By the way, the FST is that we have several therapists that are booked, like they're doing really well with that. So that definitely is something that the hands-on therapy, people will upsell into FST or even into massage, because they know they need the soft tissue work.
Gotcha.
Talk about retreat.
Yeah. So really the question came from the podcast you had the other day when you were interviewing the 2 interns. And what stuck out to me is you when you talked about the CSCS, is what it gave you is confidence. And I'm comfortable facilitating and leading retreats, but I'm wondering, okay, well, I know there's another level, right? There's a level that I don't need. It's almost like I don't know what I don't know right now. And so that's why the question was, have you had any formal training in regards to going through retreats? Just simply to, learn things that I don't even know yet.
Derek, I love you, man. You asked that question yesterday. I'm like, I don't think that exists. I should create it. I should create a course on how to do a retreat. I don't know. I have never had formal training, but I did write some notes down for everyone, because I've learned now in doing, 19 mentorships. How many, Larry, how many mastermind retreats have we? 24. What were the dates, Larry? 24 retreats for the mastermind, and obviously other retreats for Fitness Quest 10 and beyond. So a lot of experience in doing them, what to do, what not to do. Based on your question from yesterday, if you all have some notes and you want to take this, if you want to have an event for your clients or your members or for the industry, I'll keep it high level for today, but something that I do believe there's a lot of power in having live in-person events as we come back. There's a missing link right now of connectivity that people need and want, but I do think it's also changed a little bit. And you'll even see that in our upcoming events for the mastermind. People do want more experiential kind of activities and getting outside and experiencing adventure, and not sitting for 3 straight days in a classroom learning from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 3 straight days. I think there's got to be a little bit more experiential type activities. And again, you'll see that in our events as well. But I broke it into 3 categories. And the first one is, if you're going to host, whether it's a 1 day, I call it Day of Impact. I'm doing one in April in Michigan. It's a whole day if it's here at Fitness Quest 10. But if you're going to host your own retreat, workshop, event, think about this, the planning phase. So part 1, planning. What's the purpose of doing it? Why are you doing this event? So you have to have the purpose, like, what is it? And what's the vision of the event? Who's attending? Who's going to show up? What's the avatar of the event? Who do you want to really focus on at your gym or in your community that you want to have your half-day retreat or your whole-day retreat? I just was reached out to by a school, a private Catholic school, that 8th graders, they felt like the moms and dads felt like the kids were gypped from a lot of stuff in the last 2 years. So they're asking me to put on a half-day retreat that includes fitness classes, includes prayer and meditation. And I just got this yesterday. I'm like, that's actually really cool. Like, for you and your communities with whether it be churches, schools, public or private, or parents who want to do this for a birthday party, you can do stuff like this. What's the theme of your event? You notice, there's always themes in the mastermind event. Every event we have, even if it's an institute event or if it's a platinum event, we always have a theme, because the theme of Zihuatanejo in February 2020, before the world shut down, it was the Zihuatanejo theme. And then when you're planning it, Larry's going to go through all 24 themes. What's the run of show? like when you're visualizing up the run a show, what's the run a show up there on that? You got to have a whiteboard or on your computer. What's the run a show? Like, how do you envision if you're going to lead your retreat? What do you want in there? Do you want to get like we did with the impact retreat, which was to non-fit pros essentially last summer, and get them up and do prayer before the sun comes up. And then we're going to exercise. So we have the body and the spirit all soaring on that. What's the price point? You want a higher end event where it's going to be more expensive and have fewer people, or do you want to have a lower end event where you're not serving the best of food and not, maybe you're not serving food at all? But price point will play a factor in people attending or not attending an event, right? And then the structure of it is just the schedule. So that the planning is really important, and that takes more time. And it takes something like this. I sit down with Larry, Julie, Frank, in planning out even a mastermind event months in advance. Like we're working on October right now when we're looking at our big event, and already planning on what do we want to have you masterminders experience in this event. It's March. We're already talking October. It's being planned now. The next part, and the part that I hate to say is most important because it's not, but it is marketing. How are you going to market your retreat? How are you going to get people to show up? How do you get butts in the seats? Right. So that's the hard part. Number one, you got to invite people. So I just said, hey, we have platinum level retreats kicking off here in Texas next week. And, from April, May, June, we have platinum level retreats. We have an institute retreat, May 12th and 13th. You got to invite people to that and tell them, why should they show up? Why should you show up to those retreats? There's nothing like the power of a live retreat or event. Y'all know that big ideas happen when you're live. Emails. It used to be that you had to hit someone 7 times to actually think, okay, I'm going to attend that. And I'm talking more macro to the list. Now it's like 2 to 3 times that for someone to say, yes, I'm going to attend. So it's 2 to 3 times the effort now to get someone to go live to an event. So it takes some muscle to do it on the marketing side of your retreat. If you want 10 people, do you want 100 people? I do think there's a lot to be said now in having smaller events and starting to get bigger over the next year or so. I'm going to be in St. Louis next week, or April 4th and 5th for a Wells Fargo keynote. It's going to be one of my first. Had one in Houston in December, but as far as where there'll be a couple hundred people are still a little skitsy for whatever reason with 200-300 people, right? So I'm a little skitsy about planning a 200-300 person event when people are still a little skitsy, right? So it's coming. Smaller is better right now. And then lastly, planning, marketing, and the last part I put down is the schematics. What's the schematics of your retreat? Are you hosting it here at Fitness Quest 10, which by the way, you could, like Jeff Waits has it here, or am I hosting my event here with 30 people, you mastermind members or God-sized dreams, whatever it is, or is it a hotel? Is it a resort? There's a lot of fees. If you've ever hosted a retreat at a resort or a hotel, there's a lot more fees involved in that. Are you doing it at your studio? Keep it simple. Keep it not as pricey on that. The simpler, the better on that. And then when you look at your schematics, what are the big 2 to 3 talks or workshops or exercises that you're going to do when you say, what do I want the attendees to get out of this? Like I'm going to deliver these 2 or 3 exercises, talks, practical exercises, prayer sessions, whatever that is. What are those? Because those are really important, because that's where you're going to hang your hat on, even in your marketing of, man, I know we're going to dive deep and go deeper in purpose and overcoming overwhelm and stress and anxiety, all those things. Utilize nature. I think in retreats now, utilize nature, get outside and don't overplan it. I'm still the worst at overplanning. Frank, Larry, and Joe, like, you overplan everything. I do, because I'm like, okay, I want to have it buttoned up. I think sometimes having a little bit of simplicity in the schedule, it just kind of has a way of working out. You have your general structure, but not over scheduling as well. And the last two things in the schematics is what makes your retreat or live event, your half-day workshop different than anybody else's. Why should people show up to Jeff Wade's hands-on recovery, bulletproof stretch and recovery versus FST? That's up to Jeff to decide on the marketing side and the schematics of why is his different? What makes your retreat different? What makes your workshop different? Why should you show up? Why should you pay $500, $1,000, $5,000 when all is said and done, whatever? Oh, okay, it's worth it. And then on the schematics, I'll say this, always debrief after an event. Debrief with your team, debrief with your clients that attended on this and get feedback, because hopefully there's another number 2. So I know Sarah Apgar would debrief this week with all who were involved on that. And you learn a lot in the debrief of how could we have done better? What worked? What didn't work? What's the follow-up? Is there an offer, you know, to into coaching or into another retreat or into a membership at the studio or the gym? What's the follow-up and debrief after? So Derek, when you asked that question, it got me thinking of like, that's a really good question, because I don't know of any programs that exist about, hey, how to host the event. I will say this, it's always more time than you'd expect. And it's important to have people like Larry or Julie or Frank or Amelia Ann, like we have people on our team that help with that. Keep it simple in the beginning so you don't have to rely on 3-4 people to execute everything. Because at the end of the day, what do people want? What do they want? Why would they attend your event? If it's faith, fitness, and relationships, then make sure you have a lot of faith, family, relationships, and fitness in there. And they're happy because there's a lot of connection that happens at a live in-person event that becomes powerful. So I'll leave it at that. It's macro, but there's also some specific things in there. Any questions on that, Derek or team, or drop it in the chat box as well.
Yeah, TD, just so one of the things you said, well, there's several things there, but so I'm asking this in preparation for a second trip that we're doing in August. So, you know, in June, we planned out the trip I led last year. Yep. Since Larry and I had a call Tuesday, I hadn't sent out the message at that point, but sent it out yesterday. I've already got 8 of the 12 committed on this one. So clearly we did something good. They were excited about it. They're ready to do it again. I just want to go to the next level, you know, and keep accelerating. In regards to this one, the theme that I've come up with so far is fortified. I'm working with my business partner on a plan called Fortified 5 is what we're going to call the program. We won't get into details of all that right now, but the theme of this is to be fortified. What I have as far as this, I guess you would say this would fall under the schematics of it, is Thursday will be a travel day. And then we'll have basically 5 sessions, so to speak. I don't know if you want to call them sessions or whatever. A Friday morning, a Friday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday evening, and then a Sunday morning devotional. And the reason that what I learned from that last trip was, I think the power, one, we were in the mountains. We'll be in the mountains again. We're going to the Uintas Mountains in Utah. And it's way up wilderness above tree line. And what I learned was the ancillary conversations that happen on these trips without a super formal thing the whole entire time was so powerful.
Yep.
And so the idea that I have, the goal is, you know, have some type of structured flow to get thought-provoking questions and conversation going on in the morning. Mm-hmm. That way, when we're fishing and hiking or whatever we're doing during the day, can then have a follow-up to, you know, process that during the day, have a follow-up of that in the evening, if that makes sense. I don't know. So that's kind of the idea of the Friday, Saturday, those 4 sessions, and then Sunday a devotional from there. So I don't know if that kind of paints the picture of what I'm trying to create.
Yeah, it's great.
Can I chime in for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Todd kind of finished where I was going to start, which is determining what your core value proposition is going to be, right? Is what are you providing that someone else isn't providing? Why should someone choose your retreat over another retreat, or, you know, choose to spend their dollars with you versus anywhere else they could spend their dollars, right? I think that's really at the core of what you're offering. And then to your question about are there certifications for doing retreats or whatever? My recommendation, Todd's been doing retreats forever, so great resource there, obviously, but to attend more retreats, right? And to learn through experience, just like you had in the beginning, you were asking about, fitness certifications if you've never been a trainer, right? So the more retreats you attend, the more you can learn through experience. If you think about if you were going to start an airline, right? How the experience of being on a plane would change for you. All of a sudden, you're going to start to notice all these little things, from how the gate agents act. What was my experience like signing up, buying my ticket? How am I treated on the plane? How are they running their operations? You're going to be running all these things through this critical lens versus just kind of checking out and going through the paces. So those are just a few of my thoughts. And then one other thing I was going to say is feedback is critically important, but also gather information from people beforehand as to what they want to take away from the experience. And that way you can really cater that experience to people's expectations and give them the best experience possible.
That's great. Wow. Thanks for sharing that, Brian.
Derek, quick question for you. I'm not sure if I got clarity on this. Who's the retreat for? Is this for your team, for clients, for outside people?
Clients are over my studio right now. And again, I led 12 of us last year, and same time of year in August. I started with that. I really feel like the sweet spot for us is that 12 to 15 people. That's what I've just felt comfortable with so far. So I reached out to those guys first, and as I said, yesterday I had eight of the 12 right away committed. They're ready to go and go. So the next question is, okay, well, who do we reach out to next? Is the way I guess the percentage of how it worked out last year. I reached out to 22 people, 18 committed, and then within the last month or so, we ended up with actually 12 of us going. So I don't know what those percentages are, but that's what happened last year. So I would like to get 12 to 15 this year.
And again, you're talking clients.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because one of the things that, and by the way, we could probably do a bonus call just on this. There's a lot to digest here, but so I'll try to be concise. If you are running a retreat for your members, your network, your mastermind, the purpose of the retreat is to expand the connection and networking opportunities. And I forget if it was Derek, I believe it was you. You're right. The ancillary time is one of the greatest. I was making a list. Larry said 24 retreats. I've actually attended 21 mastermind retreats. And even though there's great value when maybe somebody's giving a keynote or a presentation, maybe it was a conversation over coffee with somebody. Maybe it was a glass of wine in the evening with somebody. Maybe it was sitting next to someone at lunch. That really was my big takeaway from the weekend. But the point is, if you've got a membership already, the purpose of the retreat is to expand connection and networking. However, if you want to have a retreat to people that are not already a part of a tribe, the purpose of the retreat is to get them to join your tribe, to get them into a membership. So depending upon which way, again, is the retreat for your existing members, or is the purpose of the retreat to acquire members? So your marketing is a little different. Are you marketing internally or are you marketing externally? And then without going long on this, there's a lot of ways. We're going through this now. You could do a retreat very inexpensively. If you've ever seen a conference show up where you could buy tickets today and they just tell you where the location is, they didn't get into the negotiation with a hotel where they secured a rate or a block of rooms. So it's basically, hey, come to our event. We don't really care where you stay. And they do that because there's a lot of time involved in that. And there's a risk because you have to guarantee a certain number of rooms. What we've always done in the mastermind is just important for anybody who's thinking about a retreat. We actually do the painstaking work. We negotiate with the hotels and guarantee them a certain number of rooms. But what that enables us to do to our members, not people we're trying to sell into a membership, what we're able to do to our members is provide you the best possible rate to stay at that hotel. Does that make sense? So that's why if you just attend a course, it's like they're not interested in getting you the best rate for a hotel. They don't care where you stay. It's about getting you to the event. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I'll end on this note. Some events won't have food because, again, that's an added cost. It's an added time. But I do believe it takes away from the most valuable thing that we addressed, and that's creating ancillary connection time. Because the more time you can keep people in one location to connect, I think the better the event is overall.
Yeah.
So can I ask one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
One more thing on that is and Brian, kind of to your point about creating a theme, what I realized, the theme of last year was creating transparency and vulnerability for men, because I've experienced the men that I've dealt with, it's just not common practice of opening up and talking. So what I've learned this is the sixth time I've led, not in a retreat fashion, but led men in the mountains, is when you get up in the mountains and you are disconnected, man, the conversations just start flowing.
Yep.
And so, but how do you create that same thing without calling it the same thing every time? You know what I mean? That's still the goal of creating transparency, vulnerability, good conversations, but I can't call it the same thing every time.
When you say the same thing, what you're saying, the same theme?
Yeah, I mean, the theme of it was creating transparency and vulnerability. I don't know. That was in my mind. That was the theme, and I had content generated for that to promote that. I would still like to promote that same idea, maybe just repackage it.
I think, Derek, this is one of the things that sometimes Todd alluded to. We overthink this a little bit. You could call this the connection retreat, the go deep retreat, the gathering retreat, the stronger together retreat. It's all really semantics. It's the purpose. The purpose is the same. You're just changing the title, the descriptive.
Yeah. DB, this is how I would do it. I'd let them name it. Here's what I mean by that. It's Derek Blackshear's Retreat in the Mountains, right? So that's what the generic name is, because you've been getting 8, 12, 16 people that are already signing up. There's no name. They're just signing up because they believe in you. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what's important before August. You got to connect them prior to, whether a barbecue at your place, or go have something where you sit around after workout, or go on a hike. Just those 8 to 10 guys that are already signed up. Get them talking, sit around the campfire, whatever, and start talking about it. And then what happens right before August? Invite those men to invite their wives to the same thing. Now what you're doing is you're getting ready for what you talked about last year. Because I remember the conversation is a couples retreat, because you want to pour your faith into them on the couples retreat. Because when they come back from Utah in August and they're like, dude, we went really deep. Honey, I wish you could have experienced it, but I opened up and shared things I've only shared with you. And then you see that the event, hey, would you be open? Would you want to have something in October, November, and bring your significant other, your spouse, your wife, whatever, husband? Well, I guess it's all men. So, and then they're gonna be like, yeah. So now you could have your October, November event, heck, piggyback it to ours when we announce ours, like whatever is, you're seeding that, but you got to connect them prior to just that group. And in that connection time, they're going to call it something funny. It was sitting around while they're drinking a glass of wine or a protein shake, and they're going to say something, and all of a sudden you've got the name of the event. The name of the event necessarily won't change. The theme might, because the theme is going to be where you're at in your walk, in your journey of what's on your heart. Like, I need to point to these guys with whatever's on your heart. Like I like on building trust and humility as a sacred leader, or whatever that is. And that's going to be your theme that you're going to base your workshop or your talks around. I think your semantics of your morning and afternoon, that's all great. But I like the idea of connecting them prior to, and then just before, a couple weeks before, get the spouses involved in a social. Let the ladies congregate, because if they're not members of your gym now, they will be. And then have a couples retreat soon thereafter.
Perfect.
That's what I'd be thinking.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't overthink the name. Just, it's Derek Blackshear Retreat in the Mountains or something in Utah. Guys aren't going because of the name. These are guys you know, and they love you, and they respect it, and they're going to go, and you're going to get your 12 to 15 guys, and then you have a debrief afterwards with them as well.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys,
Larry and Frank, I'm going to hammer y'all next week in Austin with questions, so be ready.
Bring it on.
any other questions? I'll open up, just open lines real quick. I wanted to open up. I appreciate everyone being here today, just as an open Q&A, and we had some great topics. And I think a lot of times you hear other people's opportunities or things they're going through, and it gives you some ahas or thoughts that maybe you can integrate into your business or life as well. So I'll open it up. Anybody that you've got small, like a little thing or something that you're contemplating that I can help with. Now's a great time. Just unmute yourself. Oh, you beautiful people.
Hey, TD,
Yeah.
Joseph. First of all, I got to say, finally, I'm glad to be here amongst everybody after all this time.
Welcome.
Look, as I mentioned in a message to you, TD, last week, you know, when I signed up, I knew I was coming. I just felt like I was alone. That's why I joined the mastermind. And so I have a lot of loaded questions, but I just got to pick the right one. So just to give us some backstory, I'm an independent personal trainer and mindset coach. I do either do in-home or they come to a studio though that I rent out. It's my wife's. It's part of my wife's wellness center, and it's a studio space that we use, and they will come to me for that. But on my own,
You're paying her rent?
Making dinners, does that count? No, I'm not paying her rent.
As long as you're clear and you're making her happy. I just want to make sure you're paying her something.
Yeah. But what's great is that my personal training, the personal training business, it's actually ours as well. So so she's still running. She never closed it on her end. So whatever money I make, she's making too, because it's our thing in line with her wellness center. And so I'm I'm the coach. I'm my own boss, social media. And, you know, I'm a father too, father of two beautiful girls, 8 and 5, going to be 6 soon, actually. And, you know, I'm like, also, I got this last week. I'm a little late to the party. But there's some habits that I'm on a personal side. Like, obviously, I want to grow professionally. So that's why I said earlier, it's a loaded question, but I'm going to try to pick one specifically, is that how to dial into habits. Because one thing I've noticed with myself is that I'm going to bed extremely late. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'm exhausted. And there's some clients, like, I enjoy working with my clients. I enjoy them, but there's some that I feel like I need more patience. And I feel like I'm running low on that. And I'll tell you something else. I also do social media work for not, you know, like I said, for myself, but for other people, like for Fit Pros. And right now I'm helping a mutual friend of ours, Connie Bollier, up in Ottawa. And I'm doing a lot of her social media content, the design work. And so just doing that, and I do all my work at night, but I want to shut down. I want to try to do the 3-2-1. And it's not happening. And I find myself in bed at 12:30 and waking up at 7 because my kids are the natural alarm clocks.
Yep.
And it's like, I find that my workouts are suffering too, because now am I going to squeeze in? Because I got my schedule all over the place. Right? I got a client in the morning, client in the afternoon, do in home. So I'm losing an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all over. I apologize if it's loaded, by the way.
It is. It could be I'm going to give you all. I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this. 2 things. Number one, thank you for sharing. That's being vulnerable. I think everyone's like, yeah, me too. So you're not alone, by the way, because by the way, raise your hand if that's you in any way, like, you know, yeah, cool. So thank you for sharing that. I literally was just talking about this yesterday with someone, and I've been on this Jack LaLanne kick because Greg Justice, they just came out with the book, Jack LaLanne, and the name of the book is called Pain and Discipline. And I'm like, why is Jack LaLanne Jack LaLanne? Why is Jack LaLanne Jack LaLanne? And I really think that discipline part, discipline to pride and discipline, the discipline to do the right thing over and over and over and again. So the question is, what's the right thing? How do you have the discipline to do what's most necessary? So let me give you my keynote that I have to give in a couple weeks. This guy's a 2-minute keynote. Ready? I'm gonna share this, and then you can take a picture of it if you want. This is a 2-minute keynote that the way I operate is I do my handouts first. It says, get your mind right, handouts for Wells Fargo, April. This is not done yet. I just send it to Emilienne and she'll do, this is like truly, you guys are here, so you're seeing it live, like these notes, all right? So this is how I do it. This is the keynote, get your mind right. It's all about energy. So how do you create a great energy? If you're in your head, you're dead. What are the 3 things you love to do? Joseph, so answer these questions. They're in the GSD planner, but answer them. What are your gifts? What are your best habits? What do you need to reduce or eliminate? And if you were coaching you, Joseph, what would you say you need to do? And then you got to do it. Sometimes you're like, okay, if you were coaching you, what do you need to do? What do you tell your clients, but you need to do? That's where I'm going to get off on a tangent and go deep is, okay, it's the discipline. It's the pain of discipline to do what you need to do. Now's a great time to work on you. So question for you, Joseph and crew, how can you best work on you this month? Write it down. Write it down. Now you've seen me, guys, if you've been with me for a while, say this, but it's a matter of doing it. How do you best work on you this month? That's why I said right now, great time to work on your 90-day wonder on that stuff. And Joseph, as if you didn't know, own your morning and evening routine. 10-minute morning routine, stack gratitude, wipes out fear and anger. Couple minutes of gratitude, couple minutes of prayer, and setting intentions for the day. And one crazy yoo-hoo, you know who it is to someone that's on my mind. Might be you tomorrow, Joseph, but like someone that, you know, you want to send a message to. And then I'm coming out with a journal for those in my GSD program that is actually, I put here, this from Emilienne knows my language, put in the questions from our new journal. They're going to get that. And then the 3, 2, 1, you know it. And I'll say shut down work, eat, shut down work, personal care amps up. And then there's the evening writing, Joseph. If you're getting anxiety or can't sleep, you gotta change your schedule to work on that. I'm not going to bore you with the health on that because y'all know you guys are the experts on that. And then lastly, I'm going to get into this a little bit on April 12th, but I started talking about change last time and transitions. So let's say you got to change your schedule. Let's say your time and energy is not where you need to be. I've got my change quotes, but during times of transition and change, you need to remember this. Why are you going through the change and transition? Where are you going? That's the vision of it. What's your plan for the next month, 90 days, 6 months, and a year? And what's your role in this transition that you're evolving toward, right? So I say that because it comes down to you for habits, and they can change in your schedule. So let's say you got to change your schedule. It ultimately comes down to making those changes happen. So that's how you saw back end how I actually create my handouts for a keynote that they'll get for this will be a few hundred people in St. Louis in 2 weeks. But when you say that about habits, I'm starting with habits and I'm finishing with, well, why don't you change? Do you have the discipline to change? And why do you need to change? Because if you don't change, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So you got to change those things. So you're not alone, Joseph. You're not alone in that. It's the painstaking difference of discipline or not. You've got to prioritize. And you know what? You may need to eliminate the role of social media. You may like, you know what? This is, by the way, you do a great job with social media. I see it. But you might be like, you know what? Social media is eating me up. I'm getting no revenue or ROI from it. So I might as well put it into doing this in programming. Or I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying you have to identify, where do I need to put my stake in the ground, spend more time here in the day so I get time, you get time with the kiddos at night, or not at 10, 11 midnight when the kids are in bed and you're exhausted and you're waking up and your mind is racing in the night. You're waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock and your mind has got anxiety.
That's right. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, and I actually released the throttle a little bit on social media in the last while and not doing it regularly. But the problem is not the problem. The thing is with social media is that one of my values is creativity, and it just fuels me every time I don't know if you saw that one I did with Nicole Stout yesterday, like just doing that, stitching it together. It was like fun to see, and like just the end product. But like, you're right, it does suck up my time. The stuff I'm doing for the Activate conference in Ottawa, it's I'm getting paid for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting paid for it, but it's still sucking like some time on like, what can I do to build myself?
Do this for me, and all you can do this as well. I had a financial advisor years ago, and it was a very valuable experience, and I'd advise it for anybody. Audit your time for 3 days, including 2 on the weekend. Write down everything you do. And I'm like, everything? He's like, I want to know when you're going to the bathroom, how long you go to the bathroom for, when are you getting with the honey, and how long you getting the honey for? I'm like, no, you don't want to know that stuff. He's like, I want to know where are you spending your time? I'm like, ooh, man, we're getting personal here. Look at y'all laughing. But when you audit your time and energy, there's no lying. If you're wasting 45 minutes in the morning scrolling IG, you just wasted, do the math. If you're worth $250 an hour, you just wasted $200, or do the math, whatever. So it comes down to, if you audit your time in a day, where are you spending your time? 3 days during the week, audit, and then the weekend. And I'm not saying your weekend shouldn't have a lot of mellow yellow and downtime. No, it should, to replenish. But again, if you're wasting 2 to 4 hours a weekend doing stupid stuff that isn't serving to where you want to go, and you're telling me you want to get to here, then you may need to reallocate your schedule so you can prioritize either what needs to be eliminated, what needs to be added, or how do you get back into, when life was working best, your routine of, my morning routine shot because my evening routine is shot. So I got to stop watching the war in the Ukraine at 10 o'clock at night because my mind is racing about the stuff is all going on. So whatever that is, I would do an audit for your day, 3 days during the week and the weekend.
And Todd, just to pick up on that, and I think this is, Joseph, this is helpful to you, and I think this is probably helpful to someone else. It's not just about the time you're wasting perhaps on social media. Where are you working with less than optimal efficiency in your business? In other words, are you spending an hour a day plugging data into MindBody, plugging in numbers and extrapolating numbers from MindBody at the expense of either maybe taking care of yourself, training a client? Like, don't give up $100 an hour job to do a $15 to $20 an hour task. And I know that, and here's the other thing, and this might hurt, but I mean, we've seen this many times in the mastermind. You may need to reevaluate even your fitness routine. Listen, I love to run and work out as much as anybody, but I don't know if you're getting 2, 3, or 4 hour workouts in, if that's optimizing your business, if that's optimizing your relationship, if that's even optimizing your health. So sometimes you got to really be honest with yourself and say, is the time I'm investing in this area really moving me towards the bigger goals that I have in life? A little something to think about.
Yeah, that's good. It's good.
All right.
Thoughts, Joseph? Yeah. Good?
Yeah, it's good. I was like running through things, and like the workouts too, I try to, I say 5 minutes, 10 minutes of movement is better than 0. And so I'm getting that in whenever I can, if I miss a day. And also the stuff I do off hours, like the website, I developed it myself. And so I'm always optimizing it, see how I could get more presence on Google. And that's another game I'm playing to get my brand out there. And it's a huge list, but this is a great start to work with.
Yeah. Let me remind you and the team something. Guys, don't beat yourself up as much as we are. We beat ourselves up that we're never accomplishing as much as we want, because all of us want to be accomplishing more, and we're not getting to what we want to get to because we're all too busy. I literally was talking to a coach 3 nights ago at a high school lacrosse game, and he literally came up in the stands and bended my ear the entire game about how unhappy he is because he gets nothing done despite having big dreams. And it's the same discussion on this, as it comes down to the question I just shared at the top. What do you love to do, and what are your gifts? How do we spend more time doing what we do? Because when you do more time what you love to do, and if 80% of your time is doing what you love to do, yes, the other 20% you'll be doing stuff that you don't, but at least your energy is where it's coming from a good place versus spending time doing stuff you hate doing. And you can do that for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but we don't want to create a lifestyle where you're resenting your work, resenting your team, resenting your clients because of the habits that have been created. And I've been there, by the way, in my career, where I've gotten off course a little bit, and I got to course correct and do that. So it's just a checkup from the neck up, Joseph, is What do you love to do? What are your gifts? How do I spend more time doing that? And if you love the social media because the creative part, fantastic. Then allocate, you're going to spend 2 hours a day, an hour a day, 3 hours a day doing that. I love podcasting. So when I'm podcasting tomorrow, I'll be in my wheelhouse for 4 hours creating content. I know that's one of the 5 things I love doing, creating content. So for you, for the mastermind, for the podcast, like when I'm creating content, I'm in my sweet spot. Stay in the sweet spot of what you're doing. If you get too far away, you're not creating content, then that right side of the brain is not working the way it wants. You're not in your heart, but it might mean you got to tweak your schedule a bit. And this is for all of us because it's that constant ebb and flow of, am I in my lane doing what I love doing the majority of the time? Hey, listen, when you're doing your retreat, Derek, there's gonna be some stuff you're scratching your head like, what am I doing? But ultimately, when you know, remember why, and you're sitting there around logs and there's a campfire going on, and you're up above the tree line in Utah, you're like, this is what it's all about. I'm changing lives. Great. But it's when you get too far off and you're not getting, like I had a conversation with a man last night who just had to give his resignation to something because he despises what's happening with his overworking and not getting time with his kids. And his wife gave him the old, you need to change some things quick or you're going to be out. I'm like, get out. Like, don't mess with your family stuff. You don't want to be there. So change it now. And that's why you have a family now, Joseph, too, because everyone on this call is either there now or has been there or will be there in the sense of it's this ebb and flow. It's like when I train my athletes, I'm always like, these guys they're like thoroughbreds. They're like one step away from being euthanized in the sense of when you're running so high performance, you're constantly on the line and tweaking of crashing and burning, or like you're in the lane and you're going right. And that's high performers. That's that edge that we've got to make sure when you're done, you recover and you take that time, but allocate the energy where it's going. Speaking of which, all you great people, I got to rock and roll. I love you guys. That was fun today. That was good stuff. Did you guys enjoy? Good. 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks on April, a couple weeks, April 12th at 10 a.m. We'll have our huddle and we'll have some guest speakers, obviously some mastermind members. Part of this year is all about collaboration. So Jeff Wade is going to be in the house, and Kelly Young, is she still on or she was on, will be there as well on that. So fantastic. Get your mastermind post of the month. If you may take a picture of this and get it out and tag TD Mastermind on it. Make me a collaborator, as I mentioned in the beginning. If you put out a great feed post, and with that, go out there and change lives. Keep focusing on changing lives and taking care of yourself. At the end of the day, it's about energy that we have. Can't wait to see you guys either at the live event here, one of the live events coming up, or the fall. I'm here for you guys. I love you, and makes a difference today. Create some impact. I love you guys. Later. Thanks, everybody. Todd. Thank you, guys.
Hey, TD.
Yes, Jen.
Hey, thank you. I got the letter. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Make sure it all makes sense. And if you need to edit, tweak, change, feel free to do so.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Jen. Later, guys.